We're at the magic nexus. We're at the nexus where the cyclical trends driven by the business cycle have reached the bottom of the secular trend. And that is when things get really interesting. Can markets go lower? Possibly. But we're in the zone where we should be utterly focused. My view is the bottom is in markets, but I can be wrong. But the point being is this is the time, the generational opportunity to buy into all of these themes. And I'll run you through some of that.
Raoul Pal, a macroeconomic investor, thinks that we are in the midst of a generational investment chance. According to Raoul's most recent report to investors, investing in exponential age technologies at the time the monetary cycle and cyclical trend cycle are at their lowest points will result in 30 to 40 or even 50% additional returns. Raoul thinks that investing in cryptocurrencies and digital assets is the best way for investors to get ahead of the curve and escape the rat race in light of the central bank's inflation of fiat money into nothing, as well as the rising cost of living, stagnant wage growth, and unemployment brought on by artificial intelligence on the horizon. Keep watching until the very conclusion of the video, where it explains in every graph why he is currently so extremely bullish on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the rest of the crypto space. If you like finance-related material, you might want to subscribe or like the video.
I've made this super clear. I think it's the best bet in the world. I think it's much better than the exponential age bet because it's exponential in its own right. And again, cyclical turning point on a secular trend. So very quickly, there's the chart Bitcoin. There's the logarithmic uptrend, 2 standard deviations oversold. This is where you want to be buying it. So that kind of makes total sense to me. And guess what? It's cyclical because it's cyclical based on global money supply within a secular trend. So the ups and downs in that secular trend are actually driven by money supply. Makes total sense. All assets are the same. So there we go. Bitcoin, global money supply. Global money supply is turned up. Where is global money supply going to be in 6 months' time? Tighter or looser? 0.0 chance it's tighter. Because inflation is going to fall just mathematically. So it either stays the same or it goes looser. So what it's saying is this is the point in the cycle. Crypto actually turned first. It turned first, then exponential age stocks, then NASDAQ, and everything else came in October. But crypto came, actually ETH turned in June. Forward looking, and I've been flagging this to everybody as much as I can. So I really like this. Here's the secular uptrend, cyclical downtrend. This is the point. Every time that happens, usually it's like 10, 20, 30, 50x from here, depending what you have. Bitcoin's not my bet here. I would probably choose to have Ethereum. But we'll come on to that in a sec. This is Bitcoin versus the ISM in yellow. Fascinating. Every time the ISM peaks, Bitcoin peaks because it's money supply and the business cycle that's driving some of this. It also bottoms before the ISM bottoms. So in yellow or gold here is the ISM and Bitcoin log trend is there. And you can see the peaks match up perfectly. Fascinating. I didn't realize how cyclical some elements this were in the log trend. I think everybody confused it for the halving cycle. I don't think it's the halving cycle at all. I think it's actually driven by this global monetary cycle, business cycle, which is actually driven because rates got reset in 2009 at 0 everywhere globally. And everybody has to roll their rates. I think it's every 3.5 years. You get a peak in the ISM, exactly 3.5 years. And then there's a low 6 months, 9 months later, and that is pretty much exactly cyclical too. And it's driven by the refinancing cycle. Mike Howell's talked about this, and I think his work is really important on liquidity and the refinancing cycle. But I think it's a bigger deal than most people understand. And again, I urge you to read the article I just written in Pro Macro or the really full stuff I've written in GMI. Okay, so Ethereum. Well, that's one hell of a chart. That's the log trend of Ethereum. We start breaking above a level there, which is about 2000. If we break 2000, then we've broken the whole pattern, and then off we go to the races. I think that's what's playing out. Now, do we do that in one go, or do we chop around? Who the hell knows? Don't really care. I've bought as much as I possibly can into the sell-off. I kept hold of all of my position, and I've got some other crypto as well, but this is my core bet. It's the easiest way of expressing the view. It's on the log trend. It's oversold. It looks like it's going up. The business cycle is turning up on a forward-looking basis. It's exactly what we need. And also there's the chart of Ethereum versus Bitcoin. That's one hell of a wedge. If that plays out, then we should see ETH doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5x Bitcoin in the next run. And ETH probably won't be the best performing crypto either. I don't know. I look at the chart of Solana and it looks like it could outperform Ethereum, and could something else do? For sure. So I'm not saying what's what. I'm just saying this is where I think it is. Why? Because Ethereum is a broader basis architectural protocol of which we can build more stuff on top of. Bitcoin just doesn't do that. It has a different use case, so it's unlikely to be as big. Is the internet worth more than gold? Yes. Simple as that, and that's basically the argument here. Okay, on to India, right? Technology will not stop. So that is a certainty. Is bond yields coming back down to trend a certainty? No. But I think it's a better probability than the market's expecting. But how long does that take? What format does it take? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm not sure that secular trend hasn't gone. And therefore, if it hasn't gone, is this an opportunity for capital gains, not for bloody yields, not for real rates? They'll be negative. Bonds are the way to the poorhouse to hold them over time. But to trade them back to trend? Interesting. But you don't even need to do that, because if I'm right, and this goes back to trend, you're going to be paying through the nose for growth stocks. And guess what? Crypto too. So that's why it's really interesting. And if yields go back down, we've slowed the business cycle and we've set the seeds for a new business cycle, which is good for commodities. So look, it's very interesting. It's all to play for. Bonds versus the business cycle. So here is the bonds year on year versus the ISM. They're very dislocated because of the liquidity issue in the bond market. It's not so much the stickiness of inflation, because this chart goes back for decades. It's the Fed signaling of we won't move. The bond market believes it. So that's where we are with this. So I like all of that. But the point being here is, if we want to change the outcomes for this really screwed up world, where our wages don't go up, where we're being replaced by technology, where governments are massively in debt and we foot the bill via taxes, where we see debasement of assets, so we can't afford as many assets as we like. So the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. If we don't like to see the rise of populism based on this broken society because the promises of the future have been broken, let's make our promises to our future selves come right. And that's by unfucking your future. Thinking about, what can I do today that will give me a chance to outperform the debt, the balance sheet, the demographics? How do I outperform the robots? Invest with them. Anyway, I hope you find it useful. I'm probably quite contentious in it. I tried to do it to get people to get outside of their narrative, because there's narratives out there that are all-encompassing and they've become political. Ignore that. We're trying to solve our future. Anyway, good luck. Next 2 weeks, tons of really interesting people to talk about all of these things and dig in more. I hope you enjoy it.
If you thought the information was useful, please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe buttons below to show your support for our small channel. That's it, guys. We appreciate your interest and hope to see you at the next one. Thank you for watching.